I'm Hugh Hewitt in Fort Worth, Texas, where is gathering the American Legislative Exchange Council. ALEC has been around for many, many decades, and they are gathering in Texas for their winter meeting. And I've done this as my third winter meeting with ALEC. I always have a lot of fun talking to everyone from every state that I can possibly grab over 2 days. And I start off with John Green because John is from Rhode Island. And I think it's wonderful to start with someone from Little Rhodey because they've always been the problem child in the 50 states. And is that fair, John?
I think that's fair, yes, Hugh.
And Representative, I want people to understand, you guys wouldn't even attend the Constitutional Convention. You wouldn't vote for anything.
We were last to agree. We were the last. We held out.
But you have two senators in the smallest state, not the smallest by population, but geography. How did you manage to get two congressmen?
Purely by fraud. I mean, they gamed the system when it came time to counting the population during the census. They made sure they fought vehemently against the notion that you have to be a legal citizen to be counted, and they made sure that the numbers were such that they would hold the two seats, and that was because they didn't want to have an all-out brawl at the time between David Cicilline and Jim Langevin, who you might recall. Jim was a paraplegic that was in the House, and they wanted to avoid a primary between the two of them. Wanted to keep two representatives, so they just gamed the system, and that's how Democrat regimes do it.
So you are the state equivalent of the District of Columbia. That means you are so blue, no one ever campaigns there. You're the bluest blue state that there is.
I think that that's pretty accurate. I will say that President Trump, I believe the number he got in Rhode Island was 42%.
Oh, that's better than Massachusetts. He only got 33%.
Yeah, so he got, there are, you know, in my hometown of Woonsocket, Rhode Island, they used to say it's a French city by origin of immigrants from Quebec, and they used to say Democrat is French for Republican. and there's a lot of those towns in cities in Rhode Island in which there are heavy Italian populations that are Democrats. You can't get elected as a Republican, but they're all very conservative. So it's and that really has been the battle in our General Assembly and the House of Representatives as well. It's always been the battle between the moderates, the conservatives, and the liberals within the supermajority.
All right, so Representative John Green, I want to know what Rhode Island does about fraud in SNAP and fraud in Medicaid, because there's going to be a theme for the next 2 days with everyone from different states. You're the first one up. We've got this massive fraud scheme unraveling in Minnesota. Do you have that problem in Rhode Island, and do you go hunting for it?
I think that we have a definite problem in Rhode Island. I know that the General Assembly, in its infinite wisdom, decided to grant driver's licenses to illegal aliens. They did that. This is my second time in the General Assembly. If I had been there when they had passed that piece of legislation, it would have been a Nikita Khrushchev moment for me. My shoe would have been off, and I would have, asked what the hell we're doing. But there's a lot of catering to the illegal alien population in Rhode Island, and that's why the state, the Secretary of State, Greg Amore, refuses to comply with the Department of Justice and hand over the voter rolls as was requested.
Let me emphasize this for our audience. They have gotten a request from probably Harmeet Dillon,
yes,
who is the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, and she said no. And they said no to
her. They said they would not comply, that it was a typical Trump bullying tactic, and they weren't going to comply. And then they asked for the SNAP information. Same thing. They're not going to comply. They're just going to, what they're going to do is they're just going to whistle past the graveyard until such time. And I'm sure that they will go to court. And when they do, in the federal district in Rhode Island, they will probably win, because one of the top judges, Jack McConnell, in the federal district court, is a huge Democrat donor.
Well, you probably never had a Republican judge, because judges have to be confirmed with the blue slip from both senators. You've had Republican senator. Last one was probably John Chafee, or he was governor, wasn't he? When was the last Republican senator you had in Rhode Island? It's like trivia time for Rhode Island.
Yeah, I really can't. I can't
come up with one.
I can't name one. We've had the closest we've come is we've had Republican governors, but it's been a while since we've had a Republican governor. You may be familiar with the former Secretary of Commerce, Gina Raimondo.
Yeah.
She left Rhode Island in a fiery mess and went to Washington to be the.
But she's a Rhodes Scholar.
Well,
representative. She's supposed to be very smart.
No,
How could she leave the state in a...
Well, I'm not questioning her intelligence. I'm just saying, boy, that she left Rhode Island in smoldering ruins, and then handed it over to the least popular governor in the United States, which is our now governor, Dan McKee.
Who's going to run against Dan McKee?
The former CEO of CVS, Helena Foulkes, is running right now.
Got a chance?
Well, he's the least popular governor. I think he's polling among Democrats at 13% from the last poll. So the Speaker of the House may jump in. He's a moderate guy, and so there's some tomato cans on the Republican side that have gotten involved. The
Chuck Wepners of my party are legion, and they always show up in the blue states.
Yeah,
right? They're always punching bags, and they're useful for some things.
So I think the Speaker of the House may jump in, and people will say, "Well, why the hell?" The Constitution in Rhode Island makes the Speaker of the House the most powerful political position in the state, much more so than the governor. And so people ask, "Well, why would you leave that?" Because he's waiting for one of the senators to retire so he can have die, and he can have.
They're pretty old, aren't they?
Yes, and
Sheldon and Jack Reed,
and then perhaps he can appoint himself as senator. So who knows? There's always
what happened to Secretary Raimondo? I always thought she might be a Democratic star rising, but it was a very useless 4 years. She was not very present in the cabinet deliberations.
I suspect that she's making good money once again, as she did before in the private sector before she became treasurer and then governor, and so I don't know if she will go backwards into Rhode Island. I suspect that she used to babysit for Jack Reed, so there's always a chance that could happen. So I wouldn't be surprised if in the future you saw the Speaker of the House now, Joe Sicarci, who's a great guy by the way, and Gina Raimondo as your United States Senators from Rhode Island, which will be, once again, blue representation.
2 blue votes, for sure.
Unbelievable.
John, before I go and talk about some of my sponsors, would you just tell people, why do you run? Why do you do this when you're one independent with 75 members, of whom 64 are Democrats, right?
64 Democrats, 10 Republicans, and me, the leader of the independent caucus.
So why do you do it?
Well, it's certainly not for the juice, because I said to you off air, I have all the power of a general in the Salvation Army. But I do it because I'm at the stage of my life where I can call balls and strikes very vocally. I can use the bully pulpit. My Democrat friends will say to me after debates on the floor when I stand up and I make what I think are very cogent arguments, they say, "We love you. I agreed with everything you said, and we love you because you say everything that we're thinking but aren't allowed to say." And so the way I look at it is, if it's a good bill, it's a good bill. If it's a lousy bill, it's a lousy bill. And I don't care who sponsored it or what the policy is. I just want what's best for Rhode Island. And so I don't...
You are an outlier.
I don't caucus with anyone, Hugh. I run as an independent. And I'm just a nerd. I love government. And I love trying to make the state better. And
a rational person from Rhode Island. What a great way to kick this off. Representative John Green, thank you for joining me today from the great state of Rhode Island. I got to take my relief factor, people. I brought it with me because of those grandkids that I told you about that invaded the house over the weekend. I'm still moving like I'm 90, and it's not, I love them. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't trade the weekend for anything, but I mean, I do need the relief factor. So I take it on the program, even when I'm at Alec, because I believe in the product, and I know that a lot of you out there had the same experience that I did. John, you got any grandkids? You're too young.
I have a couple of grandkids. I do. And
you know what happens when you lift them?
Well, I know what happens when I sit in my chair for too long. I get up and I look totally bent over. So I'm with you.
I should give you my relief factor, but I'm not going to. I like you. I don't like you that much.
Okay.
Relief factor. Call 1-800-4 and the word relief to get the starter pack, $19.95. 1-800-4 and the word relief. Or go over and find that starter pack at relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. And it's Giving Tuesday. Giving Tuesday. right? Have you given anyone anything? I'll make it easy for you. Prison Fellowship is sponsoring the Angel Tree campaign. Every $30 donated at my website, the banner is at the top of HughHewitt.com. You'll see there, Change at Christmas, if you're watching on the Salem News Channel, Change at Christmas for a child. A donation of $30 gets another child whose mom and or dad are in prison a gift, a Bible, a connection to Angel Tree, and a note from mom or dad on Christmas morning or Christmas Eve. Please be as generous as possible. It is Giving Tuesday, so dig deep. Whether you can see me or not on the Salem News Channel, you hear me on the radio show from coast to coast, and this is going to be fun. 27 to 9 fun. That's how much fun that's going to be. Representative Ann Boland is with me from Michigan. She did not know I'm from Ohio and that my youngest child's middle name is Ohio and that we won in the big house, 27 to 9. Sorry for the ambush. Are you a Wolverine?
Congratulations. I am a Wolverine. But,
so am I, by the way. I went to law school. But that doesn't mean anything when it comes to the game.
That's right.
So did you go to the game because it was miserable?
No, I did not. I
You-
watched it from
good
the
for
comforts
you.
of my own family room.
So tell people, and they all know the hand, whereabouts are you from?
So I am from Southeast Michigan, the crossroads of Michigan, it's smack dab between Ann Arbor and Flint, Lansing, and Detroit.
All right, so what's
Brighton,
the,
Michigan.
Is it a red district? Is it a purple district? Is it a blue district?
So with redistricting, I actually am kind of what they call a +3 Republican district.
okay.
So I straddle 2 counties, one that is very red that I used to represent solely, and now I straddle with Oakland County, which is the quickest turning blue county in the state of Michigan.
So I'm 69. I ran my first road race when I was 21 in St. Clair, the 10K on George Washington's birthday. And it was the most miserable weather I've ever been in, so I'll never forget that. Do you represent St. Clair?
No, I
Okay,
do
then
not.
We'll continue the conversation. Let me ask you about Michigan's legislator lineup right now. You've got the governor, who everyone knows. How many senators are Republican and Democrat? How many representatives are Republican and Democrat?
Yeah, so right now we have 58 Republicans in the state house out of 110, so we have a very slim majority. The Republicans do have it. We do have Big Gretch as our governor in the Senate. They have 38 members, and right now, they can't miss one. They have an empty seat. Gretchen Whitmer has finally called an election, concerned that they would lose that to Republican control and they would be tied. So it's sat vacant for over a year now.
So is it a paralyzed legislature? I'm not against paralyzed legislatures, especially not when you've got Governor Whitmer ready to rule by decree for as long as she wants to. What happens?
Well, absolutely, that is true. And so what happened was in 2024, Michigan was the only chamber in the nation to switch, to turn over to Republican leadership, which was the saving grace for the state of Michigan, in my opinion. And so we went from a Democrat trifecta to having the House controlled by Republicans, Senate Democrats, and Big Gretch. And what we found, I wouldn't say that, we're paralyzed necessarily, that basically if the governor wants anything, she's going to have to move and work with the legislature, with the House. And she has done that. We were able to do that with our budget process this year. And we do have a balanced budget constitutional amendment in the state of Michigan. So one, we have to do that. Two, there was a push, and we were going to make it happen that it was going to be a legislature that cut government, did increase spending.
Oh, now what is your priority? What floats your boat?
Well, I want government accountability, and I wanted a fiscally responsible and sustainable budget. I serve as the appropriations chair.
Oh, you are?
I am.
Oh, you are the
in the
money
House.
lady.
Yes, and
Oh.
that and elections are both of my passions as a former election administrator.
Now, in terms of the Republican Party in Michigan, it's had its ups and downs. Is it rebuilding itself into a effective grassroots organization?
I think that it is certainly trying to regain its footing and its momentum, but we can't, as a legislature or as citizens or candidates, be paralyzed with what's going on with the state party, right? And so we've taken a very, very different approach under the leadership of our speaker, Matt Hall, and that is that, we're going to stand on our own, and we are going to go back and deliver for the people across the state of Michigan. And once we do that, we're going to lead by example, and I think that we'll see, kind of a groundswell to elect more Republicans.
What I'm doing with almost every representative from every state is asking them about the Minnesota problem, the fraud problem. $1 billion worth of fraud in the COVID. Does Michigan have such a fraud problem?
Yes, absolutely. Michigan has, I would say it's a much larger problem than Missouri. We saw it during COVID.
Whoa.
We saw it with, the unemployment, when Gretchen Whitmer authorized people that were never vetted to work on behalf of the state not to follow guidelines or suggestions. We had billions of dollars in fraud there, and that we see it in our SNAP system. And so what we did with the budget process there is we really pushed through. We approached it very differently, going line by line, building it from the bottom up, with the idea that we wanted to deliver for the people of the state of Michigan. And what we did is we cut waste, fraud, and abuse because we found it.
Now, President Trump carried Michigan. I don't think he carried it by very much, but he carried Michigan. Is that a trend? Because what happened is Missouri went from blue to purple to red, then Ohio went from blue to purple to red. Michigan has gone from blue to purple, but it's not red. Is it moving that way?
No, I wouldn't say that it's moving that way, but I think that the more we can get in front of the people and really get back to the brass tactics, to the principles, and deliver for the people, they'll see that the Republicans are the ones that work on behalf of the people and for the people and not for special interest. And so I think, it just takes a lot of work on behalf of every one of us that represents the people to get out, be boots on the ground, understand what's happening, and deliver.
How do you draw your districts in Michigan?
Well, we have an independent redistricting
those.
commission
I hate those.
by constitutional amendment from, left wing. Probably foreign investments came to our state and invested in a constitutional amendment. We've had many that have overturned our elections in the state of Michigan in the last 8 years.
And so, is it a fair shake coming down the pike? You guys will lose a couple of districts, won't you? You'll lose at least one.
Yeah. I mean, what they did was there are many more districts now that are 50-50 districts, if you will. And I would say one thing that everybody should have learned through these independent redistricting commissions is that redistricting is not easy. It is difficult to do. It is not an easy task, but it makes it a lot easier when you set out to make it swing one way. And that's not been the way it's been in the state of Michigan. It ebbs and flows. Whoever was doing it was the legislature that did it in the past.
So let me ask you about our alma mater, and we only have 2 minutes.
Yes.
It had a very bad run with anti-Semitism. The law school has gone left of left. There's just absolutely no balance on campus. Does everyone realize that what used to be a great institution the law school was ranked with Harvard and Yale, it's become an activist ideological factory. I don't know about the undergrads, but I suspect as much.
Well, it is. It's very sad to see that what really is a world-renowned institution really is a campus for indoctrination. And to really what they've seen, the hate that they've allowed on campus. And so we've tried through the budget process to rein some of that back in.
Oh.
And, more accountability on administrative dollars, what they're investing in. But it is a hard nut to crack. But we're not going to stop trying.
Do you have any support among the Democrats, Ann Bolin, we have 1 minute, to change the University of Michigan and Michigan State to make it balanced in any way?
Well, one thing is our university boards are elected statewide. They're not appointed by a governor, and I think maybe it's time to revisit that. Should they be appointed by a governor, at least at that point you have some accountability and some change. And is there an appetite to change that? Not right now, but I think there is an appetite to make sure that our state dollars are wisely invested when we're giving dollars to the universities.
You up for re-election in 26?
I am up for re-election.
Okay, everyone. What's
Rehire.
your website?
Ann Bolin for state rep.
Is it Ann Bolin for state rep?
Ann
All
Bolin
spelled
for
out.
state rep.
Ann Bolin for state rep. Listen up, Michigan. She chairs appropriations. You really want to keep her in if you're in her district, because that matters a lot. Thank you, Ann. It's feeling a little bit like Christmas in Dallas. It's a little bit chilly here, but I'm very glad to bring back West Virginia State Senator Patricia Rucker. Senator Rucker is an old friend of the program. This must be your 4th appearance or something like that.
Something like that.
And I'm so glad you're back. You are the national chair of ALEC.
Yes.
And before we get into that, let's talk about the West Virginia National Guardsmen who were ambushed by the terrorists this week. What's the update?
So Andrew Wolf, who is actually my constituent, is still in critical condition, but there's been some very positive responses from him recently, and he is stable. So we are really, really grateful for that, and continuing to ask for prayers from everyone for his full recovery. But although he's in critical condition, there's been very positive, stable signs.
Is there a GoFundMe operation to benefit his family and the family of the deceased guardsman?
No, there is not. And they are, at this moment, not asking for anything except prayers.
All right, prayers for them. Now let me ask about Alec. You're finishing a year at the head of one of the largest, most influential organizations in America, the Legislative Exchange Council. And it's bipartisan. We had started off with John, who's an independent in a state that's overwhelmingly Democrat. What did you get done? What are you proudest of doing?
Oh, wow. Goodness. So one of the things about ALEC is we're very competitive because we are good free market capitalists. And I can tell you that I'm very honored that both the annual meeting that we had and this States and Nation Policy Summit, we have exceeded and broken all previous records. So that's a pretty good thing to leave behind. And once again, at the States and Nation Policy Summit we're about to start, we have over 80 model policies that we are considering, again, more than we've ever had before at a States and Nation Policy Summit, and record number of new attendees, new members that have joined for the first time. It's just amazing how ALEC is growing.
Now, I tell everyone, you are the pioneer of school choice because you started with the West Virginia Hope Scholarships. Would you tell people what they are, how they've grown, and how effective they are, and why other states ought to use it?
Yes, thank you. So the Hope Scholarship was the first universal ESA, education savings account, that every single person in West Virginia could qualify to get. And that means that their education dollars would go where they're getting an education. Pretty simple. If they're going to public school, great. But if they're not, their dollars are following them wherever else they're getting their education. And the reason for why other states are following it and why they should adopt it is because it empowers the families to do what's best for the kids. Not everyone is going to thrive in a public school setting. Not everyone's going to thrive in a homeschool setting. This gives the parents the ability to do what's best for their unique child.
And what kind of numbers are we seeing in terms of growth? Does it grow by 5% a year, 20% a year, 100% a year?
So it's in West Virginia, it has every single year doubled numbers.
Oh my goodness.
So it started out with, I think like 700, then it went to 1,500, now it's at 3,000. So 3 years in.
And what do you hear in terms of feedback from families that take, I'll call it a voucher, it's not really a voucher, it's a scholarship. What do you hear from families who go that direction?
A lot of positive feedback, a lot of life-changing feedback from the parents. I mean, we have students who were bullied, chronically bullied, who were feeling really low about themselves, some suicidal, and their parents got them into a better school, and they're now thriving. I hear situations where, you know, there are families where they have 3 of their children in public school, but one who was falling behind, getting into trouble, getting involved in gangs. The parents pulled them out, did something different. The child is now doing great, and it has really saved that family from you know, a lot of problems and stress. And then, of course, there's the kids with special needs who just need personalized education. And the Hope Scholarship and all education savings accounts should be like this. The money can be spent in whatever your child needs. So be it therapeutic horseback riding, be it special therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, be it some special type of chair that your child needs so that they can sit for long periods of time. Whatever it is, the money is yours to spend for what your child needs, and we allow parents to get that.
That is fabulous. But can it go to parochial schools, by the way?
Oh,
and
yes,
religious
yes.
schools? Okay. Last question. There's a move to West Virginia by people in Virginia who will drive into the district. We have 1 minute. Is that a good or a bad thing from your perspective?
It depends on whether they want to come for the freedom and opportunities we offer in West Virginia, or whether they want to come to change West Virginia. I definitely welcome with open arms those who are looking for the freedom and opportunities that we give.
Are estate taxes or property taxes staying the same? Are they rising and driving people out of their homes?
In West Virginia,
Yeah.
no. West Virginia is lowering taxes.
Oh.
Yes, so we're in the process of lowering our income taxes. We have some of the lowest property taxes in the entire nation, and we are looking to reduce more business taxes and become a more
State Senator
business-friendly
Patricia Rucker, congratulations on a year at ALEC. Always good to see you. Thank you for coming by. Don't go anywhere, America. Come back with Lisa Nelson, the big boss of ALEC, because, and one of 25 of Washington's most influential women, Washingtonian Magazine said that, and I'm going to talk to her about it. I'm at the American Legislative Exchange Council today and tomorrow. It's the 3rd time I've come to their winter policy meeting. And I'm joined by Lisa Nelson. She is the CEO of the American Legislative Exchange Council and one of Washington's most influential people, according to Washingtonian Magazine, which is actually the only magazine that covers Washington, so we take their word for it. Lisa, welcome back. Good to see you. How's the year been for Alec?
Well, this year has been an incredible burst of fresh air. We've had just a renewed appreciation for federalism, which is one of our tenets at ALEC, pushing power back to the states, and that's been happening all year long. I can't wait to see what we can do next year. Our membership at ALEC has grown exponentially, both on the private sector and on the legislative side, so big growth with the kind of that renewed focus on federalism. And this meeting here in Fort Worth, we were expecting about 800 people, and it looks like we're going to break 1,100, maybe even 1,200 when all is said and done this week.
Now, what is drawing the legislators? Why do they come?
You know, I think we just wrapped up our board meeting this morning, and we're going to be heading into our state chairs meeting and our task force chairs meeting in a few minutes. And every time I talk to our legislators, they say that the essential policy solutions that we really bring to the table are what keeps bringing them back. They love the idea of coming to our meetings and comparing one state to another. They're not looking for a cookie cutter solution to their problems, but they're looking for what worked, what didn't work, how could they shape a policy, whether it's education or broadband deployment. They're looking for how to shape that for their state and for their constituents. So they're looking for that.
And I would tell everyone watching, the reason that there's any kind of school choice in America is because of ALEC. I realize that there are a lot of people like Corey DeAngelis who are out there working it every day, and Larry Arnn up at Hillsdale, but ALEC makes it happen in the state legislatures, and I know you got a task force on that, and I hope you're rolling up. You're growing that exponentially state by state.
We absolutely are doing that. Our task force is on education, and we actually started a coalition called the Education Freedom Alliance, including Corey, including Hillsdale, including anyone who was working on this issue, which I think makes it so much more fun when you're all working together. And your past guest, Senator Rucker, our national chair, was the leader of the education freedom movement in West Virginia. And when you look at the states that say we can't pass this because we're rural, we can't pass this because of the competition, look at West Virginia. It's probably one of the most rural states in the country. So this year, 2025, the big success was Texas.
Yes.
And Senator Creighton, now Chancellor Creighton, led the effort on that. It took 3 years to get it done in Texas. And you think about the number of students in Texas, it's like 10 states combined.
And it was
amazing.
the number one issue of Governor Abbott.
Yep.
And it was the number one issue for ALEC, and they combined and they made it happen. I think we have a message from Governor Abbott, since we're in his state for the big dinner. Got to cover two more things with you. We're going to get to the 250th, but before, Ohio State, of course, beat Michigan last weekend. And just bringing that up in case people didn't know that. And it brought up name, image, and likeness conversations.
Yes.
The states are all over NIL, and there's an effort by the commissioners to get the Congress to come in and preempt. What do you think about that?
Well, you know, you've asked me that before, and I know it's an issue for you. You know, I don't think we've had discussions within ALEC around specific solutions towards that. I'm a Berkeley grad, if you can believe it, a conservative from Berkeley.
That. Yeah.
And,
Did you grow up in California?
I did.
Where?
In Palo Alto,
Okay,
California.
So it can be excused.
Northern California. But I came out a conservative, even though I went to Berkeley. And I sat down with the chancellor of Berkeley, who was my husband's freshman year roommate, who's now the chancellor, and talked to him about, you know, kind of what's going on in colleges. And he said that's the number one issue that he's dealing with. It is, I mean, it surprises me that that's, you know, I think about education writ large for K through 12. I think about, you know, tax policy and pension reform. Name, image, and likeness ends up being one of the top issues. And I don't follow it closely enough to understand, but I do think that if you're an athlete and you haven't decided to go pro, you should be able to control your own destiny.
And there's a boulder rolling down the hill on the buyouts.
Yes.
Where tens of millions of dollars are going because you want to fire a football coach.
Yep.
And in a states, and particularly poorer states, it just gobsmacks citizens that they enter into these kind of contracts, but on the other hand, they're unhappy when they don't win football games.
We're disappointed because we had a really good quarterback at Berkeley last year, and he got traded away. And we have a really good quarterback right now, and it looks
Going
like
to the portal.
probably he's going to go into the portal. So that's disappointing.
Let's talk about something fun. The 250th celebration of our country is beginning. It's begun. We're in the middle of it. What's Alex's part in this?
We are taking an approach, you really have to kind of look inside your organization and see what is the strength of an organization that we are all 50 states. And we're having fun with the 13 colonies, the original colonies. And we've identified legislators in each of the 13 colonies, and we've got them doing podcasts on what was happening when they became a state or when they joined the first 13. And we've launched that as a social media campaign. We've got a whole curriculum or suite of issues for the 250 that we're going to unveil next year. And I was asked to join with Erica Donald's AFPI, the 250th Commission. So I've been participating in those meetings. But we're just very excited about bringing statehood and the founding fathers and the Constitution to everyone we can. We've also have been working with the White House on the PragerU Museum of the Founders. So there was
good.
56 signers of the Declaration of Independence, and we've got a museum that we're putting up in the state capitals all over the country that PragerU has figured out how to bring them to life. So Benjamin Franklin comes to life and says, here's what I was thinking when I signed this document.
Oh, very
and
cool.
It was a risk to my life. And, when you think about the age of a lot of these people that were signing that, they were in their 19s and 20s. They were young people taking a big risk.
And they were risking their family's fortune, life,
were.
their sacred honor, as they said. I hope, however, the Northwest Ordinance is part of the first Congress. It's after 1776, I understand, but the Northwest Ordinance made Ohio the heart of the Western Reserve. So we got to find some Ohio stuff in there, Lisa
I
Nelson.
think didn't Ohio win this last week?
They won this last week. Good
They
for
did,
you. Lisa Nelson, always good to see you. Grand to be back at the American Legislative Exchange Council winter meeting.
Thank
ALEC.org/U. Get signed up for the weekly newsletter. Find out what's going on in the states, especially in this our 250th year of having states. Let me tell you about AndrewandTodd.com, one of our great, we've got legislators from all 50 states here for the American Legislative Exchange Council, and Andrew and Todd will help you no matter where you want to buy a house. You call 888-888-1172, 888-888-1172, or you go to their website. If you're a veteran, don't want to put any money down, AndrewandTodd.com can help you. They're with Union Mortgage, so they can help you no matter where you are. If you are a first-time home buyer, they will help you with FHA. If you're a senior citizen, you're 62 years and older, living in your primary residence, you don't want to make another mortgage payment, but you want to get money out of your house, that's AndrewandTodd.com, 888-888-1172. They got my house done when I moved back to the Beltway. They've helped my kids. They've helped Generalissimo. They've helped thousands in my audience. I've never had one complaint in over a decade of AndrewandTodd.com. So give them a call, 888-888-1172. If you're thinking about moving or refinancing, AndrewandTodd.com. Speaking of Generalissimo, the reason my set is so elaborate that people are making fun of it is because Dwayne's made it. And you did the whole set, didn't you? It's all your creation.
Yes.
Yes, so that's now, it makes my PhD weight loss reconsider whether or not you're their spokesman. 864
644
1900. That's
864
644.
1900.
And I said, it's a great skinny set. That's why it's a very skinny. It doesn't have much elaborate anything on it. It's a very skinny set.
It sure isn't very elaborate,
It
is
isn't
it?
very elaborate, so it's a skinny set. It fits with my PhDweightloss.com.
Yes, it does.
Was that on your mind?
And
when
how
you put
kind
it
of you
together?
and how kind of you to notice.
I noticed this looks like it was bought at Target.
You know, it's kind of funny. It does look like that, doesn't
Was
it?
it bought at Target?
It actually was.
And the other one? Was that bought at Target too?
Yes, it was.
How about the two behind you?
It was a 4-for-1 special.
I'm telling you, anyone
And-
who can do a set like this,
and-
you trust him on my PhDweightloss.com. 864
644.
19. Just, you got to go back to the other side of the room.
The rental car, by the way, has now been glitter bombed by the 4 Target trees.
All right, don't worry about rental. I learned that a long time ago. Rental cars, you don't worry about rental cars.
They don't care.
Just
Yes.
leave the keys. Let me tell you about
And
one
run.
more sponsor. That sponsor is Consumer Cellular. And if you go to consumercellular.com/Hugh. Remember my code, Hugh25. And I'm looking very hard for the number because I don't want to forget it. I want to get it right. It's 800-411-4454. 1-800-411-4454. If you want to save money on your cell phone plan, I guarantee you are buying too much data unless you're with Consumer Cellular if you are 50 and older. If you're 50 and older and you want unlimited data, 2 lines, $60 a month, a fabulous deal, but no matter who you are, no matter how much data you use, go to consumercellular.com/Hugh or call 1-800-411-4454. That's 1-800-411-4454. The reason you switch to Consumer Cellular is that you don't end up with trees like these. When you got to go to decorate, you'll have more money for your budget than Dwayne did to decorate this set. But we love Consumer Cellular. Go to consumercellular.com/Hugh. Hugh Hewitt in Fort Worth, Texas, where gathering is the American Legislative Exchange Council, their winter policy meeting. This is the 3rd year in a row that I've come because I always like to talk. This is for nerds. I love it. We go deep into policy with most guests, not my next guest, though. My next guest is the president of the state senate of the greatest state in the union. That would be Ohio. Rob McCollum, welcome. Rob McCauley, welcome. Tell people which district you represent because you're almost not in Ohio.
Well, I represent.
You're almost in that state up north.
I am almost in that state up north, but I assure everybody, still a good Buckeye fan and alum, but very northwest district in Ohio as far as the Ohio Senate is concerned. First Senate district covers a good chunk of that territory.
Now, if you're watching on the Salem News Channel, Rob looks like Ryan Day. I walked into the room and give it a good look because Rob looks like Ryan Day. And that means Vivek should make you his running mate. Have you talked to him about it yet? He can't have Ryan Day national championship, but he could have a lookalike.
We got to keep Ryan Day in his current job.
Absolutely.
For as long as he wants to
For
be
25
there, as far
years,
as I'm concerned. Yeah.
He can be Joe Paterno without the problems, but Vivek's going to win, right?
I think Vivek's going to win. Look, Vivek did a very good job of clearing the field in the Republican primary. I was an early endorser of Vivek. And then on the other side, with Amy Acton running against him, the lady who shut down Ohio, took kids out of their schools, did all those things during COVID, I really don't. I hope that the voters will see there's 2 very clear alternatives from each other, and they're going to see Vivek as the alternative that gives Ohio a more prosperous economy and a better pro-growth environment.
But we have to explain to people who don't live in California. Californians understand that there's Northern California and there's Southern California. In Ohio, there's north of Columbus and south of Columbus. And if you're going to run a Cincy guy, and that's Vivek, you got to run someone, guy or gal, from north. Would it interest you? Would you do it?
If Vivek came to me and asked me to take up that position, I would seriously consider it, but that's his decision to make. Either way, I'm fully supportive of him and will help him in any way I can.
That's a yes. I've been listening for a lot. I've been doing this 30 years, so I know. That's a yes. Good. Vivek, I hope you're listening. Talk about Ohio, because I brag on Ohio. Everything is going the right way. A lot of that's Aaron Baer. A lot of that's J.D. Vance, a lot of that's Vivek, a lot of that's Mike DeWine and John Kasich. A lot of people don't like either of them, but I think they all work for the state. Why is Ohio the place to put your business?
Well, Ohio's made some major progress as far as improving its business environment. We've tried deliberately to become a more pro-growth environment. When I got into the legislature back in 2015, we had 7 income tax brackets. The highest was 7.5%. Starting next year, as you already know, Hugh, we're going to be at 2.75% flat tax bracket. And you add on top of that the occupational licensing reforms to try and bring more workers to Ohio, the fact that we're trying to get a lot of this wokeness out of our higher education institutions, get them back to the basics of educating Ohio students who will have skills to enter the workforce. There's a lot of things we have going for us. And when you're running a business and you're trying to make those big decisions, you need predictability and you need stability. We can offer you both in Ohio.
President, I'm president of the Senate, that's why I'm calling him president. When I tell people why they should move to Ohio, it's because they can afford a house. It's a good house. It's on a half-acre of land. It's probably built within the last 20 years. Aaron Baer has brought me down there with the Center for Christian Virtue a couple of times. We did a debate with all the Senate candidates before Bernie dropped out when he's running against J.D. and all 6 great candidates. It was a nightmare for me. It was great fun, but it was a nightmare for a voter. And I was out in the outer suburbs, and there's just a lot of houses. People can buy a house without breaking their back. Is that partly because the state doesn't get in the way of building?
Well, I would say it's all relative. So we do have some work to do as far as making it easier to build homes, and that's something we are working on, even in the rural areas. But still, relatively speaking, you're absolutely right. The cost of land relative to a lot of other high population states, Ohio is, a lot of people may not realize, is the 7th largest state in the country. Relative to its peers that are in the same level of population, it is cheaper to build a home. It is cheaper to buy land, and so hopefully people will realize what's happening in Columbus. And part of the reason that's part of the reason why Columbus is booming right now, is because it can grow outward, and there's an awful lot of land.
Let me ask you about the lake.
Yeah.
All 4 of my grandparents, born, raised, lived, died, buried in Ashtabula. They are Ashtabulans, and I moved all the way down to Trumbull County. The lake up there could really spin. I mean, you could do a lot with the lakefront, and instead we're tearing down the stadium. What do we do with the lakefront in Ohio?
So the North Coast,
Yeah.
As we like to call it, one of our greatest assets. I think Cleveland has outlined some pretty good proposals, or they're working on some pretty good proposals to redevelop the lakefront and turn it into a huge asset for Cuyahoga County and Cleveland. But you're absolutely right. I get people all the time who say, well, I went up to Lake Erie for the first time ever. I went up to Kelly's Island or Put in Bay for the first time ever. I had no idea this was in Ohio. And we have an absolute gem in Lake Erie, and I hope most people will take the time to realize that.
I got a buddy, David Zavagna, who is Put in Bay and Cleveland, and he got me involved in the 200th anniversary of the Battle of Lake Erie, and I could not believe how beautiful that part of the state is. I don't know your part of the state well. I know northeastern Columbus and Cincinnati, but I don't know northwestern. It's ag, too. People don't realize there's a lot of agriculture in Ohio. What are you doing about the need for labor? Because a lot of farmers in California are worried about the immigration crackdown ruining the ability to bring in people to pick their stuff.
Well, I think we need to realize that there are people who can come here legally, people who have come here legally, but they need to go back after the expiration of their visas. I think President Trump, I believe, has been consistent about that. And by and large, agriculture is also an area where it's become so advanced, so technologically advanced. AI is going to drive some massive changes in agriculture that are really going to deliver an awful lot of economies of scale for farmers. And even drone technology and all those things are making ag easier every year. So it's an evolving industry that I think is going to go through an awful lot of change over the next 5-10 years.
Let's talk about your alma mater.
Yeah.
Because while I went to that school up north, I always tell people Ohio State caught up and passed Michigan a long time ago on every level, including in the law school. And you've got George Will was writing about Ohio State this week. Why the Renaissance? What happened there? Because when I got out of high school, anyone could go to Ohio State. Now you can't get in. What happened?
Well, I can tell you, my brother's also an alum, and whenever they release the new entering class statistics, we're like, thank God we went when we did. Not that any of us, I guess, were too underqualified, I suppose. It's a great school, and there's a lot going on in Columbus. They've made a pretty strong effort to improve their research capabilities. And frankly, you look at the type of and quality of students that are coming out of there, it's a major asset for the entire state of Ohio, not just Central Ohio. And so we're very glad to see that it's doing what it's doing, but we're also, putting pressure on them behind the scenes. We want more Ohioans to graduate from Ohio State because we want to keep people in Ohio at the end of the day. And statistically, the most likely people to stay there are people who lived and grew up there, present company excluded, I suppose. But
I go back a lot. My brother's still in Warren, so I go back a lot. Last question for you. Ballot measures do drive me crazy. Ohio's got too many of them. They try and confuse people. How do you fix that? I mean, they're trying to run the state against the majority of the state's wishes via tricky initiatives.
Yeah, and oftentimes with dark money and recently with foreign money, which we passed a bill to get some of the foreign money out of it.
Dave Yost told me about that, yeah.
And, but we tried to run a campaign, a legislatively initiated constitutional amendment that would actually make the threshold for passing a constitutional amendment 60%. The voters voted against it. We understand that. But the thing that worries me is just the massive stockpiles of dark money that are sitting out there in some of these far left-leaning dark money groups. That for them to just simply say, well, we're not going to work through the legislative process, we're not going to work through the normal processes, we're just going to dump $40 million into Ohio, try to change it that way. It is something that's worrisome. We were lucky enough to beat the constitutional redistricting or congressional redistricting amendment rather that they put up as a constitutional amendment this past time. But we're constantly under threat for some of these groups coming in and just simply dumping $40–50 million in Ohio and running a confusing campaign in an effort to try and buy their way into the
Do
Constitution.
you think a second time around would be a charm on that? Because it's ruined California. It's the reason California has destroyed our initiatives.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think if it were to happen again, changes would be need to be made to it. I think if it were to happen again, there would need to be some conversations about potentially some safe harbor provisions for citizen-initiated statutory changes, because we have that in Ohio as well. Hasn't really been something we've given a lot of conversation to, but it is something that I get asked about frequently from people who understand every year it's another $40 or $50 million campaign coming into the state of Ohio.
It's a nightmare. State President Rob McCauley, good to see you. If and when you're running with Vivek, let's talk a lot, because it matters a lot.
Thanks.
It matters a lot. Even if you're not from the right part of the state, from the land. You are a Browns fan, aren't you?
I am a Browns fan.
Okay, just checking, just making sure. What do you think of Shador this weekend?
I was hoping he'd perform like he did the previous weekend, but
the weather was bad. The weather was Cleveland weather. We got to give the kid another chance. Don't go anywhere, America. I'm coming right back, except over to HughHewitt.com. The Angel Tree banner is at the top. Remember, every $30 connects another child with their parent who's incarcerated this Christmas. Just go to HughHewitt.com. Find the banner at the top. 30, 60, 90. Every $30 is another child served by Angel Tree. We're talking about Wichita accents here in the Hugh Hewitt Show because Ty Masterson is the Senate President in the great state of Kansas, and he's from Wichita. And I said, doesn't sound like Mike Pompeo, who also claims Wichita is home. But I guess there is a Wichita accent. And so I'll take your word for it, President Masterson. Let's get to two things. One, as a national Republican, I want you to redistrict your state. What's the situation?
So situation's a little complicated in Kansas because I have a Democrat governor.
Right.
And we have to pass the map just like you pass a bill. We made an attempt to come in for special session in November, which takes a supermajority of the legislature to call itself in. And the Senate had the signatures to come in. The House missed it by just a few. So we're going to have to take it up again in our regular session in January. We'll have no trouble for sure passing a new map with majorities. The question will be, governor's going to she'll veto us, right? And then so we'll have to make an attempt to over it. I think the votes
Got some
there.
names for me? We'll start now.
Yeah, well, you'll know.
We'll start now.
We'll probably need that. We'll probably need that because I agree.
Call me up. You can have the whole show. We'll start now.
We got all the cover in the world. Our governor, the chair of the DGA, is out publicly calling on Gavin Newsom to redistrict California. And so I thought, why? That's one thing. I said, we found a point of agreement. She's saying the risk is too high to do nothing. And I said, I agree. Risk is too high to do nothing. Let's do it.
I don't understand the argument when it could come down to one House seat.
It could
come down to being Speaker Johnson with one vote, which means nothing much happens, but it's better than a lot of bad stuff.
And I can't imagine spending 2 more years, having 2 years of just sham impeachments of President Trump and stopping what an incredible agenda.
We'd have not one impeachment. We'd have many impeachment. That's all we do.
Yeah.
And it's terrible television radio. I'm just here to tell you, it's terrible. It's worse than the set I've got behind me, made by my producer, Glenn Patterson. Tell me about property taxes, because I got friends who live in and people are leaving Kansas.
Yeah, we have a bit of a property tax crisis.
Yeah.
It's entirely local with some of the complexity being a state lawmaker. We did just last year. We removed the state from the property tax. There was about $90 million the state assessed in property. I thought, put your money where your mouth is, and we got the state out of it. But we're going to have to probably have a constitutional amendment that changes the way that we assess property. But we can do some things like electing appraisers and auditing local budgets. But we pay property tax at the level of a lot of more populated states that have a lot more base than we do.
Former Congressman John Campbell grows cows out there, and so he calls us from his Kansas estate occasionally, and we talk to him about growing cows. And property taxes are an issue, and otherwise Kansas is a very wonderful place to move to. Good schools, if you like basketball, not football. And and do you have school choice yet?
We do not, and that's because I've got a Democrat governor. I've had majorities for my entire time there, but I've not had super majorities, and that's what it would take to get, because my governor is anti-choice, and so it's going to be #1 agenda on my run. We're in the race for governor next year, and we want to have that.
Are you running?
Kansas. I am running.
Oh, very cool.
We announced in the summer.
Who am I ticking off by saying this?
Oh, I don't know. There's
Anyone else in the primary?
Oh yeah, there's probably 9.
Go away, people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, if the state president, Senate president is running, you'll know everyone in the state, right?
Yeah.
How much do you have to raise to win in Kansas?
I mean, it's not like Texas or Florida. I mean, 2 to 5 million. I think 5 million you couldn't be beat. It
Is
takes
your
2 to
very
make a
liberal
run of the race.
Democratic governor running again?
She is termed out, and there have actually 2 members of my Senate, 2 Democrat members of my Senate are right now candidates on the other side. And this is a lot. We have a very late primary. It's not till August.
Oh, that is a nightmare.
Oh, and then you get a 90-day run in the general. It is a nightmare. But I'll tell you what, there is a Trump effect in Kansas. I mean, he's done. It's been so successful for his administration has been so successful that really does make a difference for us in Kansas.
Has he campaigned in Kansas ever? I don't recall him.
He did like 8 years ago. I want to say he came through in the 20. Well, I know he came through in the 2018 time frame.
So, if redistricting happened, would it just be a +1?
Yes, Kansas has 4 congressional members, 3 R's and a D.
Are you going to pick up in the next census, or are you going to lose in the next census?
We won't. I don't think we'll lose in the next census, but Kansas is at risk of the next one. We're not growing fast enough in comparison to some of the other states.
No, I know people have left. That's why I said
Yeah,
people are
yeah.
leaving, and I know that property taxes are a deal out there.
And I want to get that message out there to people because Kansas, it's a wonderful place to live and raise a family, but our government's been a disadvantage for us. You got high property taxes, and affordability's been a real issue. I love that that's what we're on. The message that we're on with President Trump is affordability, because that's what Kansas needs to hear.
Well, our buddy, former Congressman Campbell, comes on often. He tried to build houses. It was very, very difficult to build houses in Kansas. Why is that?
There's layers of that too. And I was a home builder. I built houses all through the 90s, clear into 2008, when God taught me some really powerful lessons of what I control and what I don't.
I was a lawyer for developers in 2008. Yeah.
So, but it is Kansas. There are things we can do, and that goes to affordability, right? To get our housing costs down, the government interferes a lot with impact fees and permitting fees that are at an unusually high level compared to some of our neighbors.
Now, is there a Kansas legal defense fund that will go and challenge some of these laws like the Pacific Legal Fund does in California?
Not to the same level, but there are those that will help us out.
And in terms of the state lower house, you'll keep your Senate supermajority? Will
Yes.
you keep your House supermajority?
So that's all up in the air. I think that's why there's a little bit of fear, going into that 26 midterm of doing the redistricting, is because there's some areas of our state that they think that could be negative in. I mean, I think we have to do it. I think every district in Kansas should basically look like Kansas, where everybody has a shot. I'm not a big fan of drawing deep red and deep blue districts, because people get lazy in arguing, what we need to talk about, the issues, whatever it is. You're not able to hone your message. And so I think that there should be a shot in all of them.
I'm a favor of Republicans winning all of them.
Yes,
That's what I'm in favor
For
of.
the record.
I don't care if
Yeah.
they win by 1 vote or 1,000 votes,
Yep.
but I want them all to be run by Republicans, because Kansas, it's Kansas.
It's Kansas.
You had a book written about you 20 years ago, What's Wrong with Kansas?
Yep.
Nothing.
Nothing is wrong.
Nothing
yeah.
is wrong with Kansas.
If we got to stop it, what's wrong with Kansas right now is I have a radical liberal governor. That's what's wrong with Kansas.
What does she run on?
She's never gotten 50%. I mean, You run on the typical kind of national issues, and what happens in Kansas is the Republicans split us up. Some third party will come on, or somebody say this isn't quite. I'm not in love with the Republican candidate, so you run a third party, and so her high water mark was like 49% of the vote, and like 9 counties out of 105.
Well, to my friends in Kansas, home builders get things done. That's been why I've always said Donald Trump is a builder. That's why he gets things done.
Yeah.
All of my clients are, what do I have to be today, in what room, talking to who, in order to get this project approved so it can move forward? They get stuff done.
Well, on that point, we have a kind of a Soros-funded blog that masquerades as the news there. That calls it the fact. They describe me as brutally effective.
Oh, well, that's a good
They
thing.
mean it as a negative. Well, I do. I remind people, when your enemy's calling you brutally effective, I'm feeling pretty Trumpish.
Yeah, there you go. State President Ty Masterson, thank you. State Senate President Ty Masterson, thank you very much. Don't go anywhere, America. Got lots more fun with state legislators coming up. But remember, over at HughHewitt.com, we are raising money for the children of people who are incarcerated with Angel Tree. And I ask you, please, to go over. $30 makes that kid's Christmas. That connects the kid with their parent who's behind bars. It allows them to get a note and a present from mom or dad, one that the kid suggested they might like, have no hope of getting because mom or dad's not there. They also get a Bible, and they also get connected up with Angel Tree, a ministry that will stay in their life, making it better every single day. So you're $30 or $60 or $90. Some of you can afford $300 and do 10 kids. It keeps on giving. Please, please, please consider a gift to Angel Tree. The banner's at hughhewitt.com. I am joined by one of the youngest legislators in the United States, and that is Caroline Harris Davila. Davila? Did I get it right?
Davila. But it's all
Davila.
good.
Yeah, I'm
So
not-
close.
There's
It's
a
okay.
historic trend that I am never well prepared by my producer, so I always get the
okay.
names wrong.
All right. All right.
Caroline, when did you lose the honor of being the youngest woman in the Texas legislature?
I got elected in 2022 at the age of 28. So I announced a run when I was 27, and I loved campaigning, knocking doors. It was amazing. This was a great experience.
Did you go to college down there?
No, I went to college in Indiana. Actually, I got my 4-year degree in 2 years in Indiana.
Are you an IU grad?
No, I'm
Oh,
not.
thank God, because we're going to crush you this weekend.
Yes,
All right.
no, you're okay. No,
Okay, good.
my parents met at the University of Texas.
Yeah.
So I do claim the Longhorns.
Well, we're going to
so-
crush them too. We already did once this year.
Yeah,
so,
we don't have to talk about that.
Yeah, we should. But tell me about the Texas Miracle. By the way, I want to know what happened on school choice because
Yes.
there were good guys and bad guys, white hats and black hats.
Yes.
Tell me your role in that.
Absolutely. So, school choice is one of the things that I ran on when I was running for election because we all know that education is a golden ticket. And we have seen that unfortunately, our kids are just not doing as good in the public schools as we want them to. And we also know that competition works. Competition makes things better. And so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to get school choice across the finish line so that parents could have a choice of education for their kids, the best fit for their kids.
Were you a staffer through all the frustrating years, and then you got to vote to pass it?
Yes, I
That had to be very
was.
satisfactory.
It was amazing. You know, I know the Lord led me to run for office, and He put me here for such a time as this. And so when I got to vote on school choice, it was a privilege to me to get to pass that bill after years of the hard work of so many incredible legislators and advocates working on getting this done.
Now, I want to talk about Texas politics. John Cornyn's a very good friend of mine,
Yeah.
and I know you're Attorney General. I know you're Congressman as well. But
Yeah.
John Cornyn, to vote against him is insane because it opens up a seat for a challenge that otherwise a lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
What do the Texas legislators talk to about each other when that comes up? You've got obviously you know all three.
Yes.
So what do? Hide?
Yes, exactly.
okay.
Yes. Yeah, run for the nearest exit.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Absolutely. No, not at all. No, it is going to be really interesting, especially with Wesley Hunt in the race. You know, I've heard people say, well, you know, he's a great third option. They don't know much about him, but, you know, looks good to them. You know, he's a new face. But you're right. Cornyn has done a great job.
What looks
We've
good
had
to
all
me
these-
is 50 plus 1
Yeah,
in the
there you
United
go.
States Senate.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
That's what looks good to me.
Yes, and we are all anxiously awaiting the midterms next year, and we want Trump to have both houses again, both
And if
chambers
you've
again,
got
I should
even
say.
a little bit of weakness in your Senate candidate at the top, it's going to filter down. You're going to lose your supermajority. Tell us about the Texas Miracle.
Absolutely. The Texas Miracle, the phrase was really coined when we saw the recession, and Texas just did better because we have a great environment for businesses. We don't have an income tax. We don't have corporate taxes. We do a great job of having just a steady regulatory environment. We want to get out of the way. We want the government to get out of the way. We want to let you be successful as a business.
Is your district getting blue, though? As Austin expands its very
You know,
sinister blue
yes. Yes.
footprint?
It is. Well, you know what? I won my last general election by more than when the first time I ran. So I'm actually hoping that I'm getting those Californians that are escaping. I think I'm getting some of those in my district, and I welcome them.
Now, who ran against you last? Who was dumb enough to run against a young, smart legislative assistant who's the youngest woman in the Texas legislature?
Oh,
That's
well-
really a dumb thing to do.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. The first time I ran, I had a very competitive primary, and then I had a general election. This past general election was just nasty. You know, the Democrats are so just crazy. I know that 10 years ago, if
Beto's
someone-
not a furry. I just
Yeah,
want to put that on the
right,
record.
right.
Beto's not a furry.
Yes, and you know what? We banned furries this past legislative
Oh, you
session.
did?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Yes.
some people are in trouble then.
Yeah. We cover all the bases in Texas. But yeah, it's really a privilege to serve. And you know, every election makes you stronger. Competition or not, again, competition improves things.
Are you going to do this your whole life?
I'm going to pray about every next step because the Lord's led me pretty well this far, and I love this job. I absolutely love it. I love helping people. I love talking to people. I love problem solving. So I would love to keep doing it.
You're a perfect guest, except for the stuff about football. So I want to thank you. And are you on the ALEC board?
Yes, I am.
Oh,
I'm
that
on
is
the
a
national board.
Oh, you brought down the average age.
Yes.
That's good. I'm very glad about that.
Yes.
Texas Representative Caroline Harris Davila.
Davila. So close. So close.
It's not a chance.
It's okay.
Ask Archbishop Chaput in Philadelphia. Did I get that right?
There you go.
No, okay, Chaput. Okay, sorry about that.
No, you're
Caroline, good to see you. I'm joined by ALEC board member, New York Assemblyman, and Colonel Robert Smullen. I say Colonel because he's a Marine for 24 years, so I don't care if he's president someday. I'm still going to call him Colonel because that's what I did with my father-in-law forever. You're going to be Congressman Smullen pretty soon.
Well, I'm running for Congress in the 21st Congressional District. It's the upstate district. Elise Stefanik, she's currently the incumbent. She's running for governor, and I'm looking to take Elise's track record up there, outstanding record, and continue that in Congress, representing the people of that district.
So tell people the cities in your district.
Well, it's 15 counties, actually. It's a gigantic district. Wow. It's the biggest one east of the Mississippi River. It goes all around the Adirondack Mountains, cities like where I'm from in Gloversville, Rome, New York, Canton, Plattsburgh, Queensbury. It's a wonderful district full of wonderful people, and I'm looking to directly represent them in Congress.
So the primary is in June. I will talk to you about state issues in a second, but I love politics. Primaries in June. What's the primary cost?
Well, there's, it's an open seat, so to speak. So primaries can be very expensive.
That's what I was guessing.
And it's really important. I'm working very hard to get a lot of support. You know, they like to say, if you want to go far, go with friends. If you want to go fast, go alone. I need to go with friends, and it's really important.
What's the website for the campaign?
So it's www.robertsmullenforcongress.com.
SMULLEN, www.robertsmullenforcongress.com.
That's right. And, anything has helped because this is a national fight when it comes down to it.
We can't lose that seat. And I'm sure the Dems will run somebody against you up there. And
they already have got somebody out. They're
going to count on the blue wave. And I'm sure you've stood on the front. You were first people in the middle of Afghanistan with General Mattis?
Yeah, that's right. In 2001, we, the Marines from Camp Pendleton, we were the first Marines to go into Afghanistan after 9/11.
How many years were you at Pendleton?
4 years total that trip.
And then you were smart and you got out of California.
Well, I've served all over the place. I've served in Hawaii, Japan, North Carolina, Virginia, 3 tours in Afghanistan. So I've been to 78 countries.
You moved back to New York. Are you from New York?
I live in the same village that I grew up in, actually.
Oh, that explains. Well, how did the Marines get you?
Well, I went to the Citadel. I took ROTC, and I was looking for national service after I had graduated from school, and I joined the Marine Corps. And I ended up staying for 24 years, had a wonderful career, met a wonderful woman. We had 4 children, 4 deployments all over the world, and just loved it. And now that I'm back in my home area, the same thing. It's a call to service. Fundamentally, I'm a servant leader.
Well,
that's what I want to do.
Every Marine who is listening to go visit www.robertsmullen, forcongress.com and help you out. Now, let me ask you about, by the way, President Trump has approved of your race, correct?
So, yes, I was actually appointed by President Trump to the President's Commission on White House Fellows in the first administration.
Oh, yeah.
I'm the only Trump-appointed conservative in this race, that's for sure.
You're on the Fellows Commission?
I was. And
That's
I was
a big
actually,
deal.
Yeah, and I was a
I've
White
known
House.
a lot of fellows. That's a big deal.
And I was a White House fellow for George W. Bush back in 2003, 2004.
That's a very big deal.
Yeah, I worked at the U.S. Department of Energy, so I know a lot about national security and energy policy.
My college roommate's a guy named Dan Poneman, but he's on the other team. He was in energy when Obama was in, but we won't talk about that. Let's talk about the fact that New York won't let a pipeline through New York that would bring gas to the New England states that are dying. What is wrong with your state?
Well, it's these environmentalists, the Climate Leadership and the Community Protection Act. They really just need to loosen up and unleash American energy. It's eminently possible that we would become not only energy independent, but we would be able to export energy. And that would help not only the people in New York. There's a fracking ban actually in New York. It's a ridiculous policy. The people in Pennsylvania are fracking away, and meanwhile, just across the border, our people are left out of it. It's ridiculous.
When I was a lot younger than you, I would ski at Peak and Peak up in upstate New York, and New York was normal when I was a kid, and then it got a little bit liberal when I was in college, and it got a little bit more. Now it's crazy, and you got a crazy governor. I think Elise Stefanik can beat her. But what is going to be the issue that drives your primary and your general election?
Well, it's about affordability. It's about affordability. It's about affordability. We need to bring businesses back to upstate New York, but what we've got to do is stop crushing families with inflation. One of the big things in Washington is spending. We spend money that we don't have on things that we don't need. I've seen it in New York State. I'm on the Ways and Means Committee there. And I see what's happening in Washington. And all the America First policies that President Trump are putting into effect, we need to make sure that they continue in Washington, D.C., and that they get put into place in New York State.
So, Colonel, very important question. Are you going to vote for Comrade Mamdani's tax hike on New Yorkers?
Absolutely not. I voted no on these budgets in New York State for the last 5 years. It's out of control. $254 billion worth of spending in the state, $100+ billion in New York City. That's the sort of attitude that I would take to Washington. We need to be fiscally conservative. We need to be responsible about this. That's what upstate first means in the America First policy realm.
Well, there are 188,000 employees of the city of New York and 154,000 employees of the state of New York, according to what my AI tells me. That's too big.
It's way too big. It's way too big. We could do it with a lot less, but specifically, what we can do is not take money away from people and give it to other people based on politics. That would be very important. I've got a really excellent rural initiative that's going to bring back a lot of things. And that's what I would do in Washington, D.C., is fight for the people of this district, but also represent everybody in New York State at the national level in Washington, D.C. I can do it. It's a great mission for me. I ask people to help me do so.
How has ALEC helped you get ready for a congressional run?
It's been a great policy organization. It's been what I would say is all of the good ideas that are taking place across America originate in ALEC. And what I want to do is not only to take those into New York State, but then take that sort of can-do attitude, that Marine Corps spirit, take that mission to Washington, D.C., and then represent the people there.
Colonel Smolin, keep coming back as we get close to the primary. When is the primary in New York?
It's at the end of June.
So if you want to volunteer, you want to contribute, give me the website again so I don't mess it up.
www.robertsmullenforcongress.com.
That's pretty easy, America. You got one to support, and Elise Stefanik leave big shoes behind, but she'll be a good governor that you can work with. I'm having a holly jolly Christmas right here at Fort Worth, Texas, where the American Legislative Exchange Council is gathering, ALEC.org. I already took my relief factor. My back really hurts after I put this set up. It really, really took a lot of effort to put this set up. And if anybody knows what it's like to put up a Christmas tree that doesn't want to be put up, like these two magnificent beasts of a Christmas tree, you'll need Relief Factor. Call 1-800, the number 4 and the word relief. 1-800-4. We're having a little fun here, not because of relief, but because the set is so Charlie Brown.
Well, some people are having fun.
Some people are having fun, but the Charlie Brown set is so much fun. 1-800, the number 4 and the word relief, or go right to their website and get the starter pack, $19.95. You will not feel the pain of Christmas. You'll just enjoy the lights and the trees and all the bunting and the angels on high that are caroling in the background. You'll love it all. Just go and get, I don't know what Dwayne is up to, get your Relief Factor. Let me tell you about a couple other things. BestHotGrill.com. This is actually the best thing you can buy your best clients. Now, what do I mean by your best clients? Who do you depend on? Who do you depend on to make your business go around? And how are you going to take care of them this Christmas? I'm appealing to your self-interest. Go to besthotgrill.com. There you see the roll on the Salem News Channel. You will find 5 different Solaire infrared grills. You can do one of the 2 smaller ones for your very best client. Right now they're running some sales over there, 75% off of some. You can also get a free griddle with the big. All the details are over at the website. Go to besthotgrill.com. If you grilled at all during Thanksgiving, you know how much people love their grills. They're going to love the Best Hot Grill more than any. Give a gift of value that will build the relationship of the giftee to whom it is conferred, besthotgrill.com. One more plug, one that is near and dear to my heart, Conservatives for Lower Health Care Costs. Conservatives for Lower Health Care Costs. I love the name of their website, pharmawindfall.com. I love it when a website tells you exactly what it's about, pharmawindfall.com. Big Pharma took us to the cleaners when Obamacare came along. They said, okay, this bill is terrible, but if you give us a few $1 billion more, we'll sign on. And they did, and they got their billions. COVID came along, and thank God we got a great pharma industry in the United States, and they did, with President Trump's guidance, Operation Warp Speed, but they made a lot of money. So that was strike two, a lot of money from Big Pharma. Then came Joe Biden's unnecessary inflation set-off COVID relief bill. When we didn't need it, a lot of that went to Big Pharma. Now they want another pharma windfall in the bill to fix the tax credits, some of which are okay, but we don't need to give any money to pharma at all, not a dime. So head over to pharmawindfall.com, make your voice heard to your state senators, your own congressperson, no matter where you are in the United States. Pharmawindfall.com will take you right to their office. You'll be able to tell them in person, do not vote for $1 for Big Pharma. Pharma has enough money already. They make enough money from American consumers. President Trump's working to change that, but we do not want Congress to give them a jolly bag of gold for Christmas. They get cold. Pharmawindfall.com. Talking with my friend, the president of the Senate in Utah, Stuart Adams. And President Stuart Adams has been on before, and he was nice enough to come back, even though he knows that I'm mean to my guests. Good to see you, President.
I'd love to be with you anytime.
You know, you're number one again, and I'm beginning to think
again,
you have rigged
again.
In the rich states, poor states, I open it up every year, and it's always Utah. Doesn't that get boring? Can you screw something up?
Only 18 years in a row. We've now reached maturity.
Now everybody wants your governor to run for president, too, because he's been so good in the tragedy, murder of my colleague Charlie. Your governor was a star.
Yeah, he is a great guy.
And a terrible time for your state. He stepped up and really made an impact on, I think, a lot of people around the country.
And that's part of the reason why Utah does so well. I actually get along with the Speaker of the House and the governor. I know that's hard to imagine.
Yeah. How about your delegation?
Yeah, we always get along. My ideas always get better when they get vetted by my colleagues and by the public and by the delegation. We get along pretty well.
Well, you are also the former president of ALEC. So
yes.
You're in a good position looking backwards. What role does it do, and why should people, A, join it if they're a state legislator, or support it if they're someone who deals with state legislators?
Well, there's lots of reasons why, but the big reason why is it's pretty amazing. If you want a great economy, if you want a great quality of life, if you want all the things that make the American dream come true, limited government and free markets. You let people have responsibility for themselves, keep the government out of their lives if you can, and let people decide for themselves. And that makes a great quality of life. And you learn that at ALEC. And there's lots of principles, tax principles, that you learn that I didn't know when I was a legislator. So you come here and you actually get educated as to what makes a good policy.
It doesn't tell me on my notes. Why did you get into it originally, President Adams?
I fell into it. You know, I really didn't plan on being into it, but I actually was kind of pushed into it by some friends. And I had a daughter turning 16, and there was a light that was needed on a very bad highway in Utah. And so I ran to get a light for my daughter, who was turning 16, getting her driver's license.
Are you pleased that they want the Olympics again?
Oh, absolutely. We did the Olympics in 2002. Nobody will do them better than Utah. You know, it's amazing.
You can't get Mitt Romney out of
retirement,
retirement,
but we actually made money on the Olympics. No one makes money on the Olympics.
Well,
so
LA and Salt Lake are the only two places.
Well, but we actually maintained our venues. So when we bid for them for the 2034, I mean, it was very simple. We're ready, willing, and able to hold them today. Even Paris, who's doing them in France in 2030, they had to build all these things. They were promising they'd build. We are ready today. We can hold them tomorrow, and we will do a job like no one else has ever done.
Is the state happy with it?
Yeah, we are. It's one of the few things that has like an 80 or 90% approval. I can't get 80, 90% approval on anything. The Olympics are very popular in Utah.
What is your RD split in the Senate chamber, President?
We have 22 Republicans and 7 Democrats and 1 independent.
I like those numbers. How about in the House?
They're about 50, 55, and out of 75.
And are you going to pick up a congressional district in the redistricting?
We will pick up a congressional district. Right now, we've got a really tough issue going on in Utah. We've got a court hearing about our redistricting process. We're going to fight that, but we're also probably we're growing so fast, we'll probably get another district at the next census.
Tell me, I've been asking everyone about redistricting because, California's playing for keeps. Everyone's playing for keeps. Illinois is the worst map I've ever seen, and I've been following this for 40 years. Do you want to redistrict right now in mid-cycle?
We are going to do something because of our court hearing, but what we've seen in Utah is when you have a great economy, when you're number one in rich states, poor states, another thing happens. We are the fastest growing state per capita in the last census. So we're growing fast. So we're going to get another district. But right now, because we're doing so well, I think we make people frustrated. And because of that, we have a lawsuit going on, the last redistricting case that we did, or the redistricting map. And we're going through that right now. And the courts aren't treating us very well. So we're going to continue to work and hopefully get through that.
Is it the federal court or the state court?
State court.
Oh,
State court.
That's the problem, is the state courts can go in a lot of different directions on these things.
So we've got a lot of work to do.
Do you have school choice in Utah?
We did. We were the only state that passed it by a 2/3 majority because we actually were the first state to actually pass a statewide school choice back in 2007, and it was overturned by referendum. And we weren't going to let that happen again. So the only way you could stop it from getting overturned by a referendum is if you passed it in both bodies by 2/3. And it was actually Speaker Wilson at the time, but Speaker Schultz, who is a speaker now, helped with it. And we got it passed in both the Senate and the House by a 2/3 majority. It's referendum proof.
How does Utah do it? There are like 3 different approaches to school choice, and I don't care which kind a state uses, but I want every state to have one version of them.
Well, we actually provide, it's a scholarship, so we use a scholarship program, but it doesn't matter, you're right. The thing that matters is the kids. I mean, we have great schools in Utah. We have great public schools in Utah. We do a good job educating our kids, but guess what? There's no kids that I have 16 grandkids. None of them are alike. They all have different needs. Some of them do very good in public schools. Some of them need some specialized attention. And if you love your kids, you're going to be able to give parents the ability to choose to find out what's best for their kids or their grandkids. Most important asset we have, most important infrastructure we can build, and that's our kids.
I have 7 grandkids, and my back is killing me after Thanksgiving. How's yours?
Hey, I love it. We had most of them over. We had a few that weren't because they went with their in-laws. Can you imagine that?
Oh,
but we only had
terrible.
18 at our house, which
only
was
18?
great. Only 18.
I'm sure that your wife is pleased
and they all
with that.
ski with me, so that's a good thing too. We love to ski in Utah.
How have you maintained the top spot?
Again,
and for the benefit of the audience, Rich States, Poor States is an annual ranking of the states. It is done by academics, by John Williams, by economists and people who look at quality of life, affordability, reasons to move, and growth, all these different things. Utah's 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and 1. It's sort of like being the Browns in the 60s.
Yeah, and Art Laffer and Steve Moore do a good job too. But we do it there's 2 reasons why. Again, the basic principle is limit government, free markets, but regulatory process is as important as tax policy. So we've cut taxes. We cut our income tax 5 years in a row. We cut them again, and again. So we keep cutting taxes. We have more money than we've ever had because we cut taxes. We have a great economy because of that. So we're paying our teachers better than they've ever been paid. So it's pretty amazing when you can cut taxes and take care of your needs, and you do that by good regulatory policy too. And we know how to basically get government out of your life. Northrop Grumman actually got a contract for the land-based missile defense system, and that's the entire land-based missile defense system, what I call the ICBM system. We permitted them on the west side of Hill Air Force Base in one meeting. It took us 1 or 2 months. It was built in 13 months. They were in their first building 15 months after getting the contract. We're very proud of that. We can move fast. We're not competing with Texas. We're not competing with New York. We're not competing with California or Florida. We're competing with China. And when we want to compete, we need to compete like we did in the past. I mean, the Pentagon was built in a year. And we can do those type of things in America, and we're trying to do them in Utah.
Can data centers get built there in a hurry because they like cold weather? and they like lots of land.
We're working on energy development. Utah's going to be the energy capital of the world. We just last week approved a nuclear manufacturing plant in Utah. And again, we did it very quickly. We're going to do nuclear. We're going to do geothermal. We've got the biggest geothermal project in Cedar City, Utah. It'll produce 1.5 gigawatts of power. We've got cheap coal. We've got cheap natural gas. We do wind. We do solar. But we're going to compete with China because the country that controls AI is going to control the world.
about that.
And you got to have data centers to have AI, and you got to have power to have data centers. And we're going to go after that. We're doing critical minerals too, if you want to know.
You've got
Yes.
rare earths?
We do, and we have some of the we have 40 of the 50 critical minerals. We're going to do a critical minerals national lab in Utah. We're going to solve our problems, and we're going to compete.
I got a big problem. NIL. What is Utah doing on NIL?
Man, that might be above our pay grade because we're pushing back on it, but it's hard to reach on an antitrust system across state lines, and so
You want Congress to get in?
I hate federal overreach, but this may be something they have to do because we've got to solve this. It's actually destroying college sports. I mean, we've got great teams in Utah. I love University of Utah.
BYU's not going to make the
well,
playoffs.
BYU is a great school, but I graduated from the U, so I got to be
So
careful
did my
there.
father-in-law.
Yeah, did he? Well, it's a great school, best school in the country, I think. But anyway,
No homers
Come
here.
on now.
No homers at all. But NIL is a problem.
But
Have
it's
you
a
debated
problem.
it?
But you look at these players. How do you recruit when you don't have $1 billion to go buy these players? It has turned it into a money issue rather than a competitive issue. We're ruining the kids, and they need to know how to compete. They need to have that fire in the belly. That's what drives sports. It's desire, and it's not just money. And if you throw money into this, we're going to ruin our kids, not just the program.
Does everybody in the delegation believe that? And have you taken that message back to
We've
Mike
taken
Lee
it back.
and
I think it
everybody
is. In fact, I'm talking to them right now. They're texting me. There's big bills going on right now, and I'm talking to them.
Well, yeah, the Big Ten sent their commissioner back with the SEC, with the Big 12, and with the ACC. I don't know if BYU sent the independent, but they are going to do something, and they should talk to the Utah people because you seem to be pretty smart about running a good state. President, good to see you. Thank you for joining me again, and I'm sorry that BYU cannot beat Ohio State this year or ever, but other than that.
We'll wait and see that one, but great to be with you.
Thank you so much. Joined by ALEC board member, Oklahoma Senate Majority Floor Leader Julie Daniels. Leader Daniels, Oklahoma did beat LSU this weekend, but I really don't think they're a top 12 team. I don't think they get into the class.
Well, as a Boomer Sooner graduate and fan, I would have to disagree. But I would say this: we are hard to kill.
They're actually going to get a bid, don't you think?
Oh, yes, I do think so.
Yeah,
we might be,
I
we
just
might be a
wanted to
host.
pull your chain a little bit because you have too much to brag about. So I just wanted to make sure you realize that the real OSU is in my state, Ohio, not your Cowboys. You did have an amazing session. Tell people what Oklahoma got done because they ought to hear what a state can do when it puts its mind to it.
Well, fortunately, with friends like ALEC behind you and a good number of great Senate and Republican colleagues, House colleagues, we managed to do the path to zero for income tax, along with another income tax reduction. And we'd already done corporate income tax reduction and franchise tax elimination and removal of the state grocery tax a year ago. So in the tax realm, we're doing very well.
Can we pause there for a second? California, I love California because their marginal income tax got up to 14.5%. Many people are leaving New York for the same reason. There are people listening to this in New York and go, how do you do zero income tax?
Well, eventually, we have a trigger. We will have a trigger, and if certain things happen, then it will automatically go down 0.25% the next year. But there are safeguards in there for the legislature to put a pause on it. It's more responsible than the one we tried a few years ago. So spent a lot of years figuring it out, and I think it's a conservative, and it will slowly go down over time.
Okay.
But our state is doing very well, so I'm certainly of the opinion we will see it drop sooner rather than later, and then there might be a pause for a while. But I'm very excited that we shouldn't have to argue about tax reduction anymore because we have the path. And we took it down 0.25%, so January this next year, it will be 4.5%, and we eliminated the bottom 3 tax brackets. We have 7 tax brackets in Oklahoma. We were catching people really with very limited income. So we took away the 3 bottom brackets, makes it easier for people, and maybe we can come back in and eliminate another one in the future.
Now, I don't want to put you in a tough spot. Young Mr. Keating is a friend of this program, so I'm going to hope he wins your governorship. But is that going to be, does it matter who wins when the legislature is so solid?
We're going to have a Republican governor. It's going to be great.
Okay, that's a good, what a politic answer. What else did you got a REINS Act done? Tell people
We got
what
the
that
REINS
is.
Act done, and our sitting governor in the executive branch was a little reluctant about it. But, this is where if the regulatory agency is going to pass a rule that will either cost $1 million or could impact the regulated industry or individual by $1 million, they have to submit special reports to the legislature so that we're aware of it, and we have to specifically approve or disprove that rule. And that is a reform that's come along with us understanding that our legislative oversight of the regulatory branch of the swamp is really very important and had been sort of ignored, or for the sake of time, we hadn't given it the attention it deserves. And we're doing that now, which is the reason that we also repealed the state version of the Chevron doctrine. Yep. You no longer will have the judiciary automatically deferring. They don't have to not defer. They just can't do it automatically.
I'm retired now, so I got no dog in this fight, but tort reform is a golden ticket to growth. Very few states get it done. How did you get tort reform done?
We haven't got it all done, but first we got it done by having it fail for a number of years, keeping the good ideas going, waiting for the right combination of a new speaker and a new pro tem who wanted to embrace these reforms. The biggest thing we did was to overturn a 2019 Oklahoma Supreme Court decision that got rid of the cap on non-economic damages, which the Republicans struggled for 100 years to gain a majority in the legislature, and this was one of the key reforms that were passed in the last 15 years. So to watch our court chip away at some of these reforms, workers' comp was another one, was really sad for those of us who came behind the people who fought to get that majority. How do you get your
justices in Oklahoma?
We use that commission system.
Oh, that's a terrible. Okay, now I understand.
But one of the reasons we got this done is for the first time in state history, we unseated a Supreme Court justice. We failed to retain them. And that has had a repercussion throughout the policy debate since in the way the court addresses things. Of course, Governor Stitz had the opportunity to make some conservative appointments in his 8 years. So we got that cap on non-economic damages back. And just a year ago, the Supreme Court had rather undercut our workers' compensation reforms. Trial lawyers still do carry a lot of weight in our state, and so those folks are still around, and they're needed too. So we were able to come back and protect our indemnity statutes and make sure that contractors and subcontractors can contract to take on responsibility and risk for each other. Just put another good piece back in our workers' comp legislation.
I want to give Oklahoma a shout out because we've got a lot of listeners in the Sooner State. ALEC named Oklahoma the best state for essential policy solutions for 2026. So you're a big-time ALEC person, so that's got to make you pretty happy.
Oh, absolutely.
You finally beat Utah.
ALEC member forever. The other one we did was price transparency for medical bills.
Oh.
I tried to get it passed several years ago. The Senate did it. The House didn't. This year it sailed through. 300 procedures will now be posted online. And if they don't comply, there might be some medical debt that we come along and say they can't collect. So again, even in health, we did something significant this year that we had talked about over the years, but you just needed the right people.
Like a knee replacement? You can shop by hospital for cost of a new knee?
Yes, sir. You just need them to post what they're charging you so that you can do some comparison, because we know in healthcare, consumers are
Who opposed that?
Well, a few years ago, some people in the House, but obviously this year, those folks had either got religion or they had been replaced, so it went through fairly easily, I think, this time.
Okay, we got a minute, Majority Leader. What's left to do?
There's still more tort reform to do.
Okay.
There is still more we can do in the regulatory space. We do have some issues with mental health care in Oklahoma, as we do in other states. We need to address those. So there are certain places within government that we may want to put more resources. Big focus next year on literacy. Very quickly, some 20 years ago, Mississippi and Oklahoma passed identical legislation to bring up literacy rates. We slowly chipped away at it. The unions had a lot to do with that. Mississippi stuck with it. They went from the 40s up to like number 4, number 7. Guess who's in the 40s? Oklahoma. If we had stuck with it, we would be there today. So it's going to be a huge push by our state chamber who are so excited about the business initiatives we did, but workforce and being able to have people
Literacy
come
matters
in
under everything.
who can read and understand is critically important to our state. So that will be a focus for the legislature, the executive branch, the state chamber, and lots of our think tank friends like Alec. We'll be working on that together next year.
Leader Daniels, I look forward to the update next year. Thank you
Okay.
for joining me.
And Boomer Sooner, Hugh.
All right, we'll see about that when they run into the real OSU. In the meantime, I want to remind people about this is Giving Tuesday. Giving Tuesday is when we ask people to be generous to Angel Tree. Angel Tree is on the patio of every church in America that knows that it exists, but there are a lot of people who cannot find it. There's a banner at hughhewitt.com. Every $30 you contribute to Prison Fellowship, which runs Angel Tree, means a gift for a child whose mom and or dad, sometimes it's both parents, are in jail. But that doesn't mean they're forgotten by their parents. It just means it's hard to get the gift that the child wants given by the parent who wants to give it, along with a note and a Bible and a connection to the Angel Tree Volunteer Network in their community. So please be as generous as possible. The banner is at the top of hughhewitt.com. Mike Gallagher had someone give $3,000 the other day, and I'll never hear the end of that. I'm not looking for $3,000, but if there are a few 300 out there, great. But I'd love your $30. Every $30 another child that Prison Fellowship Angel Tree can serve. TJ Shope is the Senate policy. What's your title? You're the pro tem?
Yeah, President Pro Tem of the Senate.
Yeah, Senate President Pro Tem. That means you have to do all the work.
Essentially, yeah. I mean, it means many things in many different states, but in Arizona, it's the one leadership position that the Senate president chooses, and it's generally the right hand of the president, and get to be in the dais the entire day while the president's probably hanging out in the office and making sure that people don't walk themselves off of a ledge so that we can continue the day.
Well, President Pro Tem Shope, I am confused by Arizona. I have followed for 35 years, went over and did Kathy Herod's dinner every 2 years.
Sure.
Didn't do it, haven't done it in the last 4 years because I'm just too confused how a state as well-run and serious and full of smart people have picked the governors and senators you picked. What happened to Arizona?
It's a really interesting thing, and I'm an Arizona native, born and raised, so just turned 40 this year. So it's kind of one of those things that confounds me as well. We had really a 3 election cycles string there where the nominees that I think that we put up obviously were not going to win a general, and frankly we can all just take a look at that and say, well, how do you know that? Well, because the nominees that were for the other statewide offices, who I would say ran traditional Arizona Republican campaigns, won by double digits in the same cycles that those who chose to go a different path would lose by 1 point or sometimes even more. I think that we figured it out. I think that there's been a lot of good effort out there. The legislature, both houses, Republican parties increasing their caucus numbers last session, running, I think, traditional Arizona values type of campaigns is a telltale sign of that.
I don't go back to Goldwater,
yeah,
but Senator Kyle was a friend.
Oh, great
John
guy.
Shadegg is a friend.
Absolutely.
You used to have serious legislators that you sent to Washington, D.C. who actually had swing.
Right.
I mean, real swing, like John Kyle. You don't get much more swing than John Kyle. So it doesn't make any sense. Are you going to put people in play in the next couple of cycles that, I mean, Ruben Gallego and Mark Kelly has nothing to go right home about.
Right, absolutely not. And I think that, there are still, I think, at play some up-and-coming folks. Part of my legislative district is represented by Juan Ciscomani
wonderful guy.
in Congress. Great guy. I view him ideally as a U.S. Senate candidate in the hopefully very near future, who would be somebody that'd be able to put that seat most definitely in play for us. And anytime you're taking on an incumbent, obviously it's difficult. I mean, the stats speak for themselves as far as the power of incumbency, but he's the type of guy I think that could really move the needle. And other folks exist out there at play in that. But we have staring us right in the face for all of our statewide elections, governor on down. We have the Senate president is running a legitimate race for attorney general.
Oh.
We have Congressman Andy Biggs, who appears to be the front runner in that Republican primary for governor. Karen Taylor Robeson's also running, and she came very close in the primary a couple years ago. I think either of those two would be extremely formidable against Katie Hobbs.
Can Katie Hobbs win? I mean, what has she done except disaster?
Not much. I mean, her approval rating in the 3.5 years or 3 years or so that she's been governor has not really been above 38%. Currently, her campaign is basically on some things that the legislature was able to pass and she reluctantly signed, like eliminating taxes on rental homes and apartments, things like curtailing taxes on groceries and things like that.
Do Arizonans notice the fact that the border has closed?
I would hope so. It has been historically our top issue over the last 25 plus years.
But now it's done.
But now it's done, and I go back and forth across the border because my wife and I have a place in Mexico, at what we call Arizona's beach, Rocky Point, Sonora, and I got to tell you, it is a breeze because people who are supposed to be crossing a legal port of entry are crossing a legal port of entry, and those who are not supposed to be are not trying. And the agents down there, I've never seen morale as high as I have. And I've been going back and forth across that border. My mom was born in Mexico, across the border my entire life, and I've never seen morale as high as it is among agents.
So we got
today.
1 minute. What priority does the legislature have that you can get the governor to sign?
So what we were focused on, number one, is our tax conformity as we go into the session. We want to make sure that the tax cuts in the big beautiful bill are passed along to Arizona taxpayers in the form of our altering our state tax code to make sure things like the no tax on tips, et cetera. I think where we're going to run into a little bit of trouble is going to be, do we put the SALT deduction in that as a part of that or not? I think there's a lot of folks on our side of the aisle who do not want to. So that's going to be a conversation. I don't know that the governor is really going to be interested whatsoever in that portion of it, but we'll see how she handles all of that.
President Pro Tem of the Senate, T.J. Shope, thank you for joining
bet.
us. It's always good to see you, and take my best wishes back to our friends in Arizona, and hope you get some good leadership soon. Ducey-style leadership. Whether you're listening on the radio or you're watching on the Salem News Channel, I'm not in the Relief Factor studio. I'm on the road in Fort Worth, Texas. But nevertheless, I brought my Relief Factor with me. I took it in the first hour, and I remind you every hour, Relief Factor actually does work, and I say especially to people who did a lot of exercise over the Thanksgiving holidays, lifted a lot of pots, lifted a lot of turkeys, dropped a lot of turkeys, had a lot of grandkids, ran around the house, put up a Christmas tree, and you're full of aches and pains. Don't take a leave, don't take Tylenol. Try Relief Factor, 1-800, the number 4 in the word relief, 1-800-4-RELIEF, or go and order the starter pack, 3-week supply, $19.95. I take it every day. It's the only supplement I've taken for more than 20 years. I've taken it every day for 13 years. And I say 13, that's rounding up by 29 days. But it does work. I encourage you to give it a try. $19.95, 1-800, the number 4 in the word relief, or head to relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. We now go to ALEC board member, Arkansas Senator Jim Dodson. The other senators, Senator Cotton especially, are friends of the program, but they never tell me what's going on in your state legislature. So I want to know, what are your wins this year? What did you guys get done?
Well, we've done quite a bit, especially over the last few years, with regards to economic development, relief of taxes, so lowering our tax rates. I've been in the legislature for 13 years, and over the course of that time, we've cut our income taxes.
18 when you started? You're very young to be 13 years in the legislature.
Yeah, I was younger then. I didn't have any gray hair when I started,
okay.
And now
I've had gray hair since I'm 30, so that's not
I
a
sported
tell.
quite a bit of it now, but we've cut our income taxes almost in half in the time I've been there, and for the first time since I'm on the ALEC board, I want to promote this rich states, poor states.
For the first time?
And we're the first time in the top 10. Arkansas
Really?
has broken into the top 10 in all the states in the Rich States, Poor States guide, and our governor wrote the foreword to this,
Oh,
this
Sarah
year's
Huckabee?
edition. Yes, so
I have a
you need
story to tell you.
to read that.
I don't read it because John, who puts it together, Jonathan Williams, is from Michigan, so he purposely lowers Ohio. So if you will look in there, you'll see Ohio is 23 and Michigan is 17, and we know that we can't say what it is on the air because we're FCC regulated. But Arkansas getting in the top 10 is a good thing. Well,
Yes.
What did they credit mostly? Tax reform?
Well, we have a bunch of different factors, but cost of living, there's tax relief, regulatory reforms. I've been pushing regulatory reform for many years myself. So we've cut the amount of red tape that we've had.
What industry did you come out of? Because some people know regulatory reform a lot better than others based on their background.
Well, I've always been professionally in sales.
Okay.
So variety of different companies. But yeah, my background was in sales before I got in the legislature, and still am.
Now,
But
why did you get concerned about regulatory reform? I love it. I love it. I talk about it all day long. Most audiences don't like it, but I love it.
I'm a policy wonk, I guess.
Yeah,
So
that's fine.
it's one of those things that, what are some things that you can do that can be effective and nobody wants to get in the weeds of?
You got to
And,
dig into licensing and say, what is this nonsense? Why don't we just cut that out of the regulatory code?
But it is incredibly effective in helping your overall state and economy. Transparency, we were in the dark ages when it came to regulations being transparent and available for the public to know what they were being regulated.
Can you build houses in any kind of, you've got the red cockaded woodpecker down there. I used to be an endangered species lawyer. It's a nightmare. Can you build houses in Arkansas at a fairly decent clip?
You can build quite a few houses in Arkansas, depending on what part of the state you're in. I live in the northwest corner of the state, which is growing fantastically fast, and the local communities have started to learn how to regulate themselves, and so they're trying as hard as possible to slow it down and make it more expensive.
Now, I'm a big fan of Sarah Huckabee, and she's a friend, and her Speaking for Myself is a great book, and she did a great job for President Trump. You get along well with her?
Oh, absolutely.
Now, how does she work with the legislature?
As far as I'm concerned, she works incredibly well, but I'm a to the right conservative, and so she is definitely
Isn't
in
everyone
line.
in Arkansas?
Not everyone. When I first started, we had just flipped from blue to red for the first time. So I was a one of 51 out of 100 House members a dozen years ago. Now we have super majorities in both chambers. And
Have
so
you done
pull-ins-
education choice yet?
We have. Yeah.
Well, how's it work in your state?
So far, we're in our third year, the first year of universal, and it is going along very well. This is the first year it's totally universal. It's not. It doesn't have categories of people, but every kid in the state is eligible.
What is the amount of money that they get?
So they get 90% of the state foundation funding. So
Well, that's pretty
it's almost $8,000
No wonder
per
you're
student.
in the top 10. That's a very
So
aggressive school
we're in the
choice
top
plan.
3 in education, in education freedom reform. As far as Alex rankings for that, chasing Florida and Arizona. But hopefully
Those are both universal as well.
They're
And
both
so-
universal as well. Their universal started faster than ours did, so that's why they were ahead of us. But I
Where's
think
the
we'll
tax
be
rate
there.
in Arkansas?
The tax rate for per individual income taxes, the top rate is 3.9% this year. And then corporate income tax is 4.1, I believe.
You compete against some zero tax states, Florida and Tennessee.
Right.
So
They
is that
border
an
us.
objective to lower?
That is a push. That is one of the governor's goals, is to get us to zero, but we have systematically reduced it. When I started, like I said, it was at 7%. So
And which committees are you on?
I'm on education, state agencies, governmental affairs. We deal with election reforms, things like that. I'm
Do
the
you need
chair.
ID to vote in Arkansas?
We do. Yeah, we actually
Was
passed that as a
controversial?
It was at the time we initially passed it. Then we referred it to the voters subsequently, and now it's a constitutional amendment. The people voted for
We
it.
got 1 minute. There is no argument against voter ID. There are a lot of arguments for it.
Yeah.
I mean, who opposes it?
Leftists.
Leftists.
Yeah.
You're never going to fall for the ranked choice voting scam, are you?
Hopefully not. That would be something. We are one of those states where where petition gathering, you can have direct democracy. So if someone comes in and spends a bunch of money and gets it on the ballot, then you have to try to fight it at the ballot and see what that argument is. But
Immunize your voters against it soon. It's a nightmare.
I am aware.
Alaska, Washington, Maine, it's a freaking nightmare. Senator, good to talk to you.
Absolutely.
Board member, I want you to remember that, friend, Jim Dodson. I'll be right back for a few final words. Day 2 of the Alec Wonkery is tomorrow, so don't go anywhere if you've missed part 1 today. We'll do more of this tomorrow. I love the theme music. You can't see it if you're in your car. We have the most hurtinest set ever, and he's playing the Charlie Brown theme. And if you remember, the Charlie Brown trees worked out, and so these are fine. These are just absolutely fine. We're not going to remind Dwayne about him for the rest of his life at all, maybe. I do want to tell you something serious, though. WebRoot is a sponsor of ours, and right now right now, webroot.com/Hewitt. Webroot.com/Hewitt is where you want to go, because this is the season to steal your identity. This is the season to steal your card. This is the season for people who thought, oh, I'll just stop here at this coffee shop and do a little shopping online. The guy next to you hacks in, takes your number, looks at your digits, and you're done. You're cooked. But not if you've got Webroot Total Protection. And right now it's 75% off. Why are they doing that? Because they know that you're alarmed. You read the news. They know that you read the news. They know that you want to go and get a guard on your vital personal information. You don't want to have your identity stolen. You don't want your bank accounts drained. You want to go to webroot.com/Hewitt. You want Webroot Total Protection. You can cover one person in 5 devices, or if you've got a big family, you can get up to 10 people and up to 10 devices, mix and match. Find the details at webroot.com/Hewitt. Webroot.com/Hewitt. And please stay with me for one more sponsor, Americans for Free Markets. And Americans for Free Markets are for one thing and one thing only. They want to make sure that you can bank no matter what your politics are, no matter what your group is. They want to make sure that banks do not shut you down. So you go to their website, forfreemarkets.com, F-O-R, freemarkets.com. You heard about debanking, or maybe you've been in a cave and you didn't. It began under President Obama. It went away for 4 years under President Trump because he didn't appoint fools and ideologues to the banking industry and to the oversight panels. Then it came back under President Biden. The auto pen must have signed it. But we had people getting debanked, and the auto pen really hated some groups, so they got debanked all over the place. President Trump signed an executive order banning debanking in the regulatory world in August of this year. So it's not an imminent threat, but we need it put into the law that banks bank everyone. And I don't care if they bank leftists. I really don't. But I just don't want them to prejudice against people who are center-right or conservative or free market. Or I just want Americans who are not involved in criminal activity. We do want the criminals not to have banking. We are not the Ozarks television series, not Arkansas. We don't want money laundering going on. But we do want people to be able to bank confident of the fact that their name or their affiliation or their cause or their project does not trigger someone in the back room is a lefty shutting you down and saying you can't bank here anymore. That's forfreemarkets.com, F-O-R, freemarkets.com. I also want to thank ALEC, American Legislative Exchange Council, hosting us again. I love doing this. There are very few radio shows in the world that love this as much as I do. There aren't any television shows that love it as much as I do. But you know what? You learn stuff when you talk to legislators, and we got 1,200 of them here. And I am so glad. ALEC.com/Hugh if you want their newsletter. Pretty soon the new edition of Rich States, Poor States will be out. And Ohio will once again be trod upon by Jonathan Williams, but we will overcome.